Thank you, Farooq, for inviting and asking me to share my views on the current topic. I'm very glad to be interacting with all of you, and special thanks to Tamalji, who is a real person behind this invitation. So thanks, Tamalji, to meet and also to meet old friends like Satish or everybody whom you have met, interacted at various points in time during our career. Thank you very much. Now, coming to the special topic, because it is a discussion paper, obviously, the first thing I get from the speakers and panelist views is that everybody has clearly understood what is the provocation for Reserve Bank to come out with the discussion paper. That understanding is good. And also the fundamental principles of the regulatory framework, the proposed regulatory framework, that the regulation relating to microfinance is going to be lender agnostic, it is going to be activity based, there will be a common definition, freedom in pricing, and there will be a holistic definition of all those things. That understanding is really good because that is the first starting point for a discussion paper. The motives behind, the objectives behind bringing out that paper and the proposed approach, is it clear? So that I get the feedback very clearly that it is very, very clear. So that is something of very, very gratifying, that goes well for Reserve Bank to have drafted this. And also, as Satish did mention, that there and others also mentioned that constantly there has been a lot of during the last 5 years over all these subject matters. So that has resulted in this clarity. That is number one. Number two, yes, several speakers have brought out some specific caution that people will have to bear in mind, especially Tamalji and Ajay Kanwal also did mention about that these things come with greater responsibility, and others also seconded that. So freedom comes with the responsibility. That is another clear understanding of this message by all of you. That is also good, because the implications when we say that you are free to determine the pricing, along with that, the very first responsibility is that the rate should not be usurious, that because that is first thing. But another important implication by some of you might not have really understood is that the non-MFI lenders, that is other entities like banks, whether it is mainstream bank or SFBs and NBFCs, but so far they had thought that whatever is allowed for microfinance MFI in terms of pricing, that 24% is available to them. That alibi is now removed. It is proposed to be removed. So each one has to be fixing the pricing based on their own normal way of calculating the risk reward and along with the cost perception. Each board has to determine and clearly establish that this is the right pricing, not because the RBI has permitted 24% or 22%, whatever. So that is one implication. Other than the NBFC MFI have to realize that this freedom is going to be really be affecting them in terms of pricing. That's what Reserve Bank is talking about. That interest rate for the microfinance customers, there is likely to be a fall, or there is going to be a reduction. That is from this group, that is good. But the another implication of that, all of you will have to remember that it means a kind of higher financial challenge for the NBFC MFIs. Because when the banks and SFBs are going to be charging, let us say at 16% or 14%, because of their own calculations lead to that kind of number. And if you are going to be by targeting something about 20, then you are likely to lose customer. The competition is going to be put pressure on them. There, the solution, as Ajay did mention, that you have to look out for opportunities in terms of utilizing technology. Tamalji also mentioned technology and increasing efficiency, where reduce the cash operations or otherwise. And somebody did mention, I think Bausar did mention that, to look at hitherto the sectors where you have not thought of going there. those may be riskier, but appropriate risk pricing should be make it possible for you to go in that direction. And that's what whereas the bank and the government will also be requiring, that by here to the sectors which where mainstream banks or even MFIs have not yet gone, but they do require financial support from the formal system. And if you are stepping there, then that is a welcome development. So that is a good augury for all of you to recognize that there is going to be this challenge. Then the definition, the common definition, sorry, not the common, that household as the base for credit appraisal. That all of you have brought in a consensus that that is the right approach, especially for this set of people. The even though individually they take the responsibility for the loans, but otherwise their whole existence is along with the family members. So that's why the household total income, household total indebtedness, that has to be factored while determining what possible facilities you will be offering them. So that is again good. And thoughtfully, the discussion paper says that it is not fixing any specific guidelines how the household income should be measured. There was some comment or somebody did mention that there should be a guideline from the regulator. No, it should not, because the very fundamental principle of a microfinance capacity all these years, which has been recognized by the Reserve Bank, is that the capacity to innovate. So the set of people are the population where you are working, it is not going to be similar to one another. There are going to be a lot of difference between various types of entities, the households, different geography. And that would mean that the model that you are going to build will differentiate between one MFI and another MFI. That is where the freedom has come in. And that obviously, I think Mr. Chauhan did, Dr. Chauhan did mention about that. There is a very clear necessity for the board of directors of these microfinance institutions to be upgraded, to say the least. So they should have a lot of capacity to understand, to fix the pricing properly based on the risk that you are likely to take, and constantly to monitor the operations. So the higher capacity or the governance level to be brought to a next higher level, that is a very important implication all of us will have to appreciate. Then the transparency. There was not, except in the opening remarks by the Gitmala, she mentioned about the specific provision in this discussion paper regarding the one-page key information for very clearly articulated information for the borrowers. That's a very important one, because if you would recall, the earlier way back in 90s, Reserve Bank brought out such a position relating to the credit card industry, because around that time there were quite a bit of not being so transparent way of offering the services by the credit card industry. So Reserve Bank had to come out with regulation relating to minimum terms and regulations to be brought in. So something similar has been proposed for the microfinance borrowers. This one-page key information certainly will be useful to pursue. Then another one possible problem that will be a challenge that we may face is that the pool of microfinance borrowers may shrink because of the common one is that today microfinance institutions, they finance a party, two institutions, upper limit is there, but beyond that the same person could be taking loans from the banks and others. So now that is going to be stopped. It is irrespective of any number of entities may finance, but the total limit allowed for such a person has to be within this parameters of 1.25 lakhs or 2 lakhs or whatever. So that way there could be an initial in the short term, there could be some shrinkage in the total borrower pool, but by going forward, once everything stabilizes, that will automatically play out, and you yourself will be finding out the real needy further people who have not yet got into the mainstream. So that is one. And the competition from banks and NBFCs that all of you have recognized, that there is going to be plus or minus in that competition. Pricing obviously is going to be different between various types of entities here, because of their own funding pattern is going to be different. But what I perceive is that still banks, being banks and mainstream, they are unlikely to be coming to the same segment as you are in, except in the urban locations. So that way there will be differentiation, even though they will be available and offering the microfinance as a product, but the clientele is going to be distinctly different for the banks and the regular microfinance institutions. I would be, I can see that that is going to be there. Then one more suggestion, which is in this paper, which has not got much of attention in today's discussion, I think, except Deepmala did mention about that. The definition of the microfinance loan is going to be expanded and to be inclusive of financing consumption needs also. So far, the out of the total limits, the certain type of consumption need like medical and education had been kept outside. Now it is going to be inside. So to that extent, there is going to be a bit of challenge in terms of the total capacity for the institutions to lend. But again, it is going to be an initial hiccup rather than a permanent one. So that is one. And then I do see one or two gaps which could have been included in the discussion paper. One is that microfinance institutions have to keep 15% CRAR, SFBs also, but mainstream bankers do not require that high capital. So there is a difference in that. That is one. And the provisions also, there is a difference between what the banks will have to, how much provisions they have to make for microfinance loans, vis-a-vis the microfinance NBFCs required to maintain, like 1% on the portfolio, or for the 50% for the when the loan goes past 90 days, and 100% for when the loan goes DPD goes past 180 days. Whereas such requirements are not there for banks. So to that extent, there could be some more harmonization which may be needed, and maybe some of you can study this particular aspect and give appropriate suggestions. Either Sadhan or MFIN can think over that little more deeply and provide that. So that way, I'm really happy that to be interacting with you. As I said, just to conclude, that I'm happy that all of you have understood the discussion paper properly, the reasons behind bringing it, and the proposed framework. There is clarity. There is ample understanding is there. And second aspect is that most of it, all of you, major recommendation, all of you are welcoming it. Freedom is most certainly that is being welcomed, and also recognizing that along with that, responsibility also is placed on your shoulders. So that is great. So thank you very much.
Very much, sir. You have given a lot of insight, and the points that got our practitioners got hold of what CFR. That is really you have drawn our attention very rightly. Now I request Tamalda. Now you can do our job of expressing thanks on behalf of the association to Gandhi sir. Sir, मैं आपसे एक बार फिर से माफी चाहता हूँ for getting delayed. ये भाई आप सर just आपकी सूचना के लिए बता दें. This is our first virtual conference. We are a very small association. We are the state association. MFIN and Sadhan has a bigger and wider chapter. We are only 25 or 28 members. We are very small organization, and this is our first conference. So there have been some glitches. I have assured you to be abide by time, but still we are late by 1 hour. अब हम लोग बहुत कुछ अपना लोड ऑफ थैंक्स को हटा करके कमाल राज से ये काम हम अपनी तरफ से करना चाहते हैं।
Small finance means microfinance means small, and you are
बोल रहा है कि उत्तर प्रदेश leads the country. So even if Sadhan is there at all India level, we have to be always be careful of Uttar Pradesh.
Yeah, Sudhir Saab actually asked me about a week back that whether to give the keynote address, I can get Mr. Gandhi. And then I reached out to Mr. Gandhi, and I was also very happy that Sudhir Saab has picked up the right person, that because Mr. Gandhi did see the Andhra Pradesh crisis from very close quarters. And without batting an eyelid, Gandhi sir said yes. In fact, I suggested instead of giving a keynote address, he should give a valedictory address after listening to others. So the villain of the piece of is me, Gandhi Saab. So for the you blame me. Otherwise, you should have just given the keynote address and gone. But I thought it will be very useful if and your presence will make others also to do their homework and make better presentation. So thank you, sir. I have nothing else to say, but just to thank you. And just if you two, three small thing, if you can take a minute of yours, Gandhi sir, I would like you to highlight. One is this: it talks about urban and rural. So what happens to the semi-urban? Because whenever you talk about bank branches, etc., you always go for 4 types of things: metro, urban, rural, semi-urban, and rural. Here you have modified into cutting into urban and rural. Is there any case for something going for yet another tier? That's one. Second is, this 1.25 lakh from rural and 2 lakh from urban. Do you think it should be a dynamic thing, like linked to inflation or something? At least every 2 years, should it be reviewed, or it should be the same? And third, you have answered, but I just want to re-emphasize: is it correct thing you are saying that if somebody is falling into this 1.25 lakh in rural and household, and 2 lakh in urban household, this family cannot access any other loan barring microfinance loan? So banks entry in any format, be it consumer loan, be it education loan, be it personal loan, or be it two-wheeler loan, in any which way, banks cannot enter and come as a top-up agent. Is it right thing? These 3 things are, if you can just 1.5 minutes, 30 seconds each, if you can say, I think the industry will get the benefit. Thank you, sir, once again.
Thank you. Yes, these are relevant questions. The first about the stratification, whether it is just to rural and urban is sufficient, or the standard rural, semi-urban and kind of thing should be there. So too much stratification may not be warranted. Perhaps as feedback is that urban defined rural 1.25, other than rural 2. Something like that, if it can be put it, that will solve this problem, rather than bringing for semi-urban 1.5 and what is the other definition? I'm forgetting. The
metro.
Metro with this 2.5, something like that. Too many things may not be warranted. So we can put it that perhaps rural is 1.25 and anything non-rural is 2. That way it be simpler to implement. And the second question that you asked was
dynamic.
That was the third one. Yes, obviously the limits will have to be periodically revisited. We cannot forever keep it at 1.25 and 2. But 2 years will be a very, very short period to short gap. Obviously, that's not that should not be there. Rather, it should be once in 5 years. If it is revised, that will be a good thing. Number 2. Number 3, the other question that you asked, that again as a follow-up of my comment, that does it mean that these kind of borrowers cannot have at any point in time loans beyond 1.25 or 2? That is for any other purpose, whether it is education or medical or anything, that is the implication. so long as somebody is defined as a microfinance borrower, then his capacity, because by there we are starting with the assumption that the household income is not sufficient enough to support more than 50% of their income for supporting or paying off the servicing the loans. So that is the assumption we are making. Under that automatically it would mean that the such clientele cannot be given any top-up loans for any other purpose. That is a fundamental proposition. So either if some institution would think that the person is worthy enough for higher loan, then that person can no longer be considered as a microfinance borrower. That means that others are calculating it wrongly, that either his certain type of income has not been properly recognized, whether this particular institution could see that they have other potential. That means that the privileges as a microfinance lending, that won't be available for such a, that's why it will have to be seen.
Okay, sir.
Tamalda, sorry, Tamalda, this is Vineet here. And just to Mr. Gandhi, for example, if in a housing finance or in a two-wheeler finance, if there is a secured loan provided, and a lot of that is required under PMAY, BLC, and other schemes for rural people to construct their houses. And these are very long tenor loans, and essentially they would naturally fill up the FOIR of the customer. Now, of course, those loans will still be HFCs because NHB provides the HF. Those loans still be two-wheeler loans. So, you know, they cannot be all, are they all harmonized into so-called microfinance loan per se?
No, they won't be considered as a microfinance loan, but in assessing the household's total indebtedness, it will come.
Yes. Yes.
And based on that total indebtedness, what is the, here the proposal is that up to 50% they should be the total capacity for them to service any type of, all types of loans.
Correct. Right. So FOIR is 50%. Yeah.
You have still there is a space for microfinance to be, microfinance lending should be possible for that person. Then yes, it is possible. Otherwise,
sure.
If already going past that 50, no further microfinance facilities can be offered.
Right. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Tamal.
Yes, sir. No, Sudhir sir, all up to you.
Sir, on behalf of the association, we would like to present one memento to Gandhi, sir. Sir, this is your place, sir.
Thank you very much. I acknowledge it virtually. Thank you.
It will reach your place, sir. I've already taken your hand. Thank you very much. Now I have request for 1 minute vote of thanks from our Vice Chairman, Mr. Bharat Singh. Mr. Bharat Singh, please convey vote of thanks. Before Bharat Singh, you conclude. My heartfelt thanks to Deepmala Ghosh, man. Because of some technical glitches on my part, you cannot present the PPT, but then you have presented the entire RBI regulation in the most smallest possible time in the best possible way. So Deepmala ji, thank you. Special thank you to you. And now Bharat Singh ji, our Vice Chairman, is there to convey vote of thanks on behalf of all the members present over here.
So, Sabhi ko namaskar. Myself Bharat, actually representing Upma over here as a Vice Chairman, and I am from Satin. So, we had a very great session. I think I can say that the whole session is about a new era, as rightly quoted by Tamal sir. And that new era is about change. And the session, the way it has gone, I think the insight by all the elite speakers and all the August people has been very insightful. And now it's the turn of the microfinance players, we players, that yes, we have to adapt with the changes. And yes, almost all the parameters have been so nicely covered. How to deal with the change management is that, for example, very rightly said by Chauhan said that yes, we have to be more driven, governance driven, more should be on a professional ground. Similarly, Tamal sir had told that yes, this is a change. It's not only that we have to enjoy it, but we have to be prepared. We have to prepare, we have to be more efficient, more technology based. Similarly, a lot of the points have been covered by all the elite speakers. Thanks to all. for the great insight into this. And this has been a very learning session for all the microfinance players, whether they are small or big. But yes, these now we have to be prepared with the changes, and then only we can be sustainable, survive for a better day. Thanks to all. A special thanks to Gandhi sir for giving his time and giving us insight. And thanks to all the elite members who have been here. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Thanks for your insight.
सर हम आपको ऐसे ही दोबारा कभी कभी परेशान करते रहेंगे because we have got lot of things, lot of insight. Sir, please be blessful for us. Excuse us for the delay today. Thank you very much. Tamalda, thank you.
Thank you everyone.
Tamalda, आपसे सिर्फ एक बात कहना चाहता हूँ, एक सेंटेंस में सर, गुरु गोविंद तो खड़े काके लागो पाए, बलिहारी गुरु आपकी गोविंद की बताए. Sir, with this I just convey my heartfelt thanks to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good evening. Have a
All
good
stay
evening.
safe.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Thank you to all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sinaji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for.